listening to the Art of Homeschooling podcast, where we help parents cultivate creativity and connection at home. I'm your host, Jean Miller, and here on this podcast, you'll find stories and inspiration to bring you the confidence you need to make homeschooling work for your family. Let's begin.
We've all heard it. Comparison is the thief of joy. But how do we stop comparing ourselves to others? That's really the big question. Here's the thing. We all want to know how we're doing, right? And so we check in and see how our homeschool measures up or compares to others. This is so much more readily available, of course, and at our fingertips with the advent of social media. It's really okay to be curious, right, about what homeschooling looks like for other families. We all really have that curiosity, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're continually checking in to see how others do things in their homeschool, that can erode your confidence rather than build it up. I hear all the time from homeschooling parents that what you want more than anything else is to feel more confident with homeschooling. And the scariest part of homeschooling is that fear that you're doing it wrong, right? So we all are searching for those answers of how do we do this right? What does it look like? Are we doing enough? And so in this episode, I want to share 3 specific strategies to help you declare once and for all, homeschool comparison, be gone. How do you stop comparing yourself to others and reclaim your uniqueness, your joy? First, I want to introduce you to a great term, comparisonitis. I first heard this from life coach Marie Forleo, but recently I found a book entitled Comparisonitis by Melissa Ambrosini. Here is her definition of comparisonitis. She says, comparisonitis is a contagious, socially transmitted condition that occurs when you compare yourself to others so frequently and fiercely that you're left paralyzed, with your confidence in tatters and your self-worth plummeting. It may sound trivial, but this affliction can have serious adverse side effects or adverse effects on our mental health, leading to depression, anxiety, overthinking, and regret. All it really takes is a hint or a suggestion of someone doing something different than you, coupled with your perception that theirs is a better way. And boom, comparisonitis takes hold. I know because I've been there, and I experienced this before social media even existed, and now that social media is a regular part of our lives. Isn't it crazy to think of all the self-confidence we're robbed of when we compare ourselves to others? All the pain and suffering it can cause? Do you find yourself continually comparing your homeschool to others? This can totally steal your joy and leave you feeling overwhelmed. So here are 3 strategies that you can use to stop comparing yourself and focus instead on your family's unique homeschooling journey. Number 1. Remember your why. Remind yourself why you chose homeschooling in the first place. Reflect on your family's values in particular, but values, needs, goals. When you have a clear sense of purpose, it's easier to stay focused on your path. I talked about this recently in the closing keynote at the online Waldorf Homeschool Conference. I was sharing about how to cultivate creativity and foster lifelong learning because that was one of our goals. My husband, Brian, and I had this as a goal from the very beginning, way back in the mid 1990s when we started homeschooling. Our oldest was probably only 5 or 6, and we wrote down our values in a document we called, this was the title, Why Are We Homeschooling? I know, super clever title, right? We really wanted to capture our vision right at the start of our homeschooling journey. I put this document in the front of my planner every year, and it really guided me. It inspired me on our less than perfect days and helped me stay focused on the bigger picture. We had a vision. We had a vision for family-based learning or life schooling. I liked those terms even better than the term homeschooling. And we saw learning even back then as something innate to all of us, young and old. We even wrote, quote, learning happens everywhere, not just in a classroom, end quote. And I might add today that learning happens at all ages and stages of life as well. So just remember, you can turn the tables on comparisonitis by tuning into your goals and your values. Picture them as your treasure map leading you on your unique homeschooling adventures. Check out more about this vision statement that we wrote in episode 4 here on the podcast, which you can find at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 4. Okay, strategy number 2, celebrate your wins. Instead of comparing yourself to others, focus on celebrating your own progress and achievements, no matter how small they may seem. Acknowledge and appreciate the unique milestones and breakthroughs that your family experiences. I know this might simply sound good or like a noble thing to do, but the truth is it really works. This is actually a really practical strategy. I remember in my training as a Simplicity Parenting Family Life Coach, our leader taught us about what is called the change wave. Specifically, it offers steps for how to identify what we're satisfied with in our parenting or family life or homeschooling in this case, and then designing a small doable change. The first step, though, before even identifying your dissatisfaction, is to celebrate what is working now. I promise there is something. Often we are moving so fast, trying to get to the next thing, figure out the lessons, decide what hands-on activities to bring. We're trying to fix some unwanted behavior in our child. We're feeling worn out or even discouraged that we forget to look at what has gone well, what is going well. So ask yourself this. What wins can you name today or this week? Stop and think about it for a minute. What is going well right now? Take a moment to celebrate those. Swap out those mini marvels with comparison for just a moment. Every small victory, every aha moment, these are like sprinkles on your homeschooling cupcake. So remember to savor each and every one. Want to hear more about Simplicity Change Wave process? Check out the Homeschool Simplicity Bundle. I'll be sure to put a link to that in the show notes. Okay, strategy number 3, run your own race. Run your own race, stay in your own lane. I love those phrases. Remember this, our brains are actually wired to look for trouble because their job is to keep us safe. So our brains are constantly scanning the environment, the horizon line for danger. Is there danger coming at us? That really means that our job the job of our thinking capacity is to remind that primitive brain that all is well. And when we see someone who looks super successful at homeschooling, let's just remember that there is no one right way to do this. Mindfulness techniques can help you stay present and centered. They can really help with this. So when you catch yourself comparing, just gently redirect your thoughts to the present moment and what is going well in your homeschool and the progress that you're making. Most of all, don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle or your middle to someone else's end. No homeschooling journey is without challenges. Let me say that again. No homeschooling journey is without challenges. So I want you to be realistic about what you can achieve. Don't set impossibly high standards for yourself or for your children, because learning takes time. Here's a great reminder that I often find useful is time takes time. Be gentle with yourself and understand that, like I said, everyone's homeschooling journey is different and there's no one size fits all approach. Your job is to be the youest you that you can be, and getting to know ourselves and finding our own unique strengths, being gentle with our unique challenges and weaknesses. That's really our lifelong job, is to befriend ourselves. So be the youest you that you can be and run your own race. Here's a question. Did you think I was going to tell you to take a break from social media? Sometimes when we have conversations about comparisons and feeling challenged by comparing ourselves to others, this topic comes up. So I don't want you to overlook this strategy. But I also want to acknowledge that many of us get lots of ideas and even a sense of connection on social media. So just be wary. For me, I often need to give myself a few days break every so often of not scrolling, not searching for an answer to something, just a little break to be in the moment. This really helps me to connect with my loved ones more deeply and appreciate what is. To slow down, observe, step out of my analytical mind, that constant mind chatter. I like to replace social media with reading and going outside. Those are my two go-tos, in fact, for reconnection, so that I can reconnect with nature, reconnect with myself, and with those around me. If you feel that you'd benefit from cutting back on social media and scrolling, give comparisonitis a run for its money by busting out the social media detox dance. Unplug, unwind, and reconnect with your own homeschool rhythm. But only you can decide when that's necessary. Homeschooling is about adaptability, really, and finding what works best for your family. So allow yourself to make adjustments as needed without feeling the need to meet someone else's standards. Stop the endless scrolling and searching so you can shift your energy back into just being with your children. Do the lessons and observe. Go outside. Observe. Taking a break from social media can help you stop comparisonitis in its tracks. And even just small breaks really help. Remember, homeschooling is a deeply personal journey. And what matters most, I think, is the growth, well-being, and happiness of your children and family. Embrace your uniqueness and focus on creating a nurturing and fulfilling educational experience for your children. Lastly, if feelings of comparison are causing you significant distress, consider finding a mentor who can offer you strategies to manage these feelings, mindset techniques, and really a healthier perspective on how you're doing. I offer sessions to homeschooling parents to help them get back on track and feel better about themselves while homeschooling. I'll be sure to put a link in the show notes if you want to find out more. Keep in mind that you can seek guidance if comparisonitis gets too feisty and out of hand. Here's a quick recap. Start with these 3 strategies. Number 1, remember your why. Number 2, celebrate your wins. And number 3, run your own race. You've got the power to turn away from comparisonitis and toward the fun, whimsical adventure of your homeschool journey. Embrace your unique path and let your playful spirit guide you along the way. Thanks so much for tuning in today. You can find the show notes for this episode at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 146. See you next time.
That's all for today, my friend. But here's what I want you to remember. Rather than perfection, let's focus on connection. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Art of Homeschooling podcast.